We're looking at rotations for a second day. My essential question is, how do I find the image after a rotation? Learning intention. I'm learning to identify different transformations, graph them, and write the rule for them. So you've got 4 warm-up questions. The whole front page are warm-up questions. So pause the video and see if you can do them now. I hope you tried to do those on your own. Okay, so the first one just simply tells us what to do. We're going to go 5 units right and 1 up. So I'm going to play the counting game. 5 units right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 unit up. And this will be T prime. Okay, now I can look and count. This is 2 to the left. So here would be G prime. And B is 1, 2, 3, 4 units from G. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this would be B prime. Connect the dots. Make sure the triangles look exactly the same size and shape. And you're done. Okay, for the next one, my vector is -1, 3. That means left 1 and up 3. So I'm going to go left 1 and up 1, 2, 3. And this will be Y prime. This is left 1 and up 1, 2, 3. G prime. Left 1, up 1, 2, 3. M prime. Connect your dots. And you are done. Check and make sure that both triangles look exactly the same, and they do. So when you're doing translations, you're counting. When you're doing reflections, you're counting. So the next 2 are reflections. Reflect across the line, y is equal to -2. What does the line y is equal to -2 look like? Okay, so if I remember, y is equal to are those horizontal lines. -2 is right here. Okay, so as I'm looking, I notice that I prime is going to stay the same spot because it's right on my line of reflection. E is 1 below, E prime will be 1 above. If I'm looking at this point here, it looks like it's supposed to be, I don't know what it's supposed to be. I'll call it an X. It is 1, 2, 3, 3 below. I go up 1, 2, 3. This is my x prime. And finally Q is 2 below, so I go 2 above. Connect your dots. And you are done. Once again, make sure that the two triangles are identical. Oops, we missed one. Which one did we? Oh, I did not catch I. So I should have gone here and then up here. That's why I tell you it is important to look at both of the figures and make sure they look identical. Okay, so for the last one, reflect over x is equal to -3. Where is that line of reflection? Draw it in. If y is horizontal, then x has to be vertical. So I'm going to go from the origin, 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be my line. Y is equal to x is equal to -3. Now it becomes a counting game. This is 1 to the right, I go 1 to the left, and this will be W prime. This is 1 to the right, I go 1 to the left, and this is S prime. I is 2 to the left, I go 2 to the right, and I get I prime. And finally, P is 1 to the left, so I go 1 to the right, and I get P prime. Now let's connect our dots. They look exactly alike, just flipped around, and we are done. So hopefully that was a good review. Today is just a review over the 3 types of translations we've looked at. These are rigid transformations. This is translation, the other one is a reflection. Both of those are rigid motions. Okay, so we're going to look at rotations again. It's easiest just simply to use your table that tells you what to do. So identify the A, B, and C, or the points, your vertices, then apply the rules to find the new one. So if it's a 180 degrees around the origin, it doesn't matter which way it goes because you're still going halfway. You keep the same X and Y, you just change them to their opposites. So see if you can do that now. Pause the video. This is J, R, Y, and I'm going to call that V. Okay, so V, J, R, and Y. V is, if it's my center, 2, 0. R, 2, 0. J is 1, -1. R is 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, 2, 3. And finally, 5, -1, 2, 3. These are mapped to. Okay, I just switch them around. So this becomes 0, 2. The second, they both become their opposites. There is no opposite of 0, so it becomes 0, -2. Okay, so J prime, you switch them around. You've got -1, comma, -1, -1, 1, switching them around. Then they become their opposites. So this is +1 and -1. So this becomes 1, -1. So J and J prime are the same. Switch them around. -3, +4. Change them to their opposites. +3, -4. And this is R prime. And finally, the 5, 3 is mapped to. Switch them around. -3, 5. Change them to their opposites. +3, -5. And we're ready to connect the dots. Okay, did I graph this? Did I graph V correctly? This is 0, -2. So I need to go back and redo because it doesn't look right. Remember, if it doesn't look right, you need to check and see what's going on. So 2, 0 becomes 0, -2. 0, -2. This is your V prime. 1, -1. J prime. 3, -4. That's your R prime. And 3, -5. So as we get ready to do the rotation, it's 180 degrees around the origin. I don't change them, I just make them their opposites. So my XY is mapped onto the opposite of x and the opposite of y. So you start by identifying your original points. The original v is 1, 2, 0. My mapped point will be -2, 0, because 0 does not have an opposite. Next, j. My original j is 1, -1. I create the opposites. This becomes -1, +1. And this is your j prime. Okay, r is 1, 2, 3, 4, -3. R prime is -4, +3. And finally, y. Y is 5, 3, 5, -3. Y prime will be -5, +3. And I am ready to connect my dots. If you notice, it's flipped it from the fourth quadrant to the second, and that would be halfway around. Okay, for the next one, we're doing a 90-degree counterclockwise around the origin. 90 degrees counterclockwise, we switch them around, and it becomes the opposite of y, and then x stays the same. That's your mapping. So if I'm looking at n, x, and we'll call that one r. R is the point, -1, 2, 3, 4, +1. That means R prime. Switch them around. 1, -4. The first one becomes its opposite. -1, -4. Okay, for n. N is the point, -5, -4. It is mapped onto -4, -5, change the first to its opposite, 4, -5. And finally, for x. X is the point, -3, -2. It is mapped onto -2, -3. The first one becomes its opposite. So 2, -3. Connect your dots. And we are done. Remember, we always have to apply those rules. And how do you know you're successful? You know you're successful when you can identify different transformations, graph them, and then write the rule for them. So these are all three rigid transformations.